So what is the best opening system for a knife or a folder? Well, that's what we'll explore in this video. Guys, welcome to a more survivalist channel. As I always say, if you want to learn more about all of this stuff, survival and preparedness, you're in the right place. You have a ton of content already uploaded in the channel. I always suggest my books, Surviving the Economic Collapse, as well as Street Survival Skills, where I cover quite a bit of EDC information, talking about different tools, self-defense, and a ton more stuff in those books. So yeah, you have that there below. I'll also leave some links for some things if you want to get in Amazon. That's always appreciated. Does not change your price one bit. Does help out around here. So what are we looking at? Well, these are not all of them, but they're some of the more popular ones. Classic opening system for a knife, for a pocket knife, has always been like a little nail notch. You put your finger right there and you open it. This has worked fine forever, right? No problem with that. Typical pocket knife. Now we've gone a bit of a long way since then, and we have knives that you can open single-handed with just one of your hands, and you can just bring it out of your pocket. Usually these are going to be clipped to your pocket and have some kind of single hand opening mechanism, which we'll explore in this video. It's not always the case. Some of these, for example, the Victorinox Soldier has a kind of spidey hole, but not quite so. But no clip. That's something they should address. Clipping a knife, always a good idea. It doesn't bother and makes it so much easier to find and not have there in the bottom of your pocket. So what are the traditional systems? Maybe the first one that got like main recognition is the Spidey hole. This is original from Spyderco, by the way. I'm sure someone else at some point in history did it, but commercially in this more modern era, it was Spyderco, the first one that said, hey, I'll do a big old hole in my blade, and that way you can open it single-handed. And it does work. It does work quite well. Look at that beautiful blade there, Spyderco Police, such a classic. Back in the day when things were not, you don't see any screw in this thing. Not a single, well, yeah, only there. That's wild. But yeah, beautiful blade, right? The Spidey hole. These things have been around for a while. It does work well. In your resilience, the tenacious, these are, once it gets a little bit bigger, it can be more complicated. You need a blade that is not too heavy. And here is the thing with these things is that you have to get like your, a little bit of the flesh of your thumb in there, a little bit of the skin, you see that? So it has to get in there. And you're working with a friction. Now, being a round hole, it means it's gonna rotate around it quite nicely. And yeah, it does work. It is a very simple system. It is just a matter of putting a big old hole there in the blade, and it's also ambidextrous, so you can use it one hand or the other. So yes, it is nice. The disadvantage I see is that since you need to have that skin in there, if you have cold hands, if you are compromising your dexterity, maybe you don't get that friction quite as easily or as nice. And also with gloves, can be a thing. You don't have the tactile feedback when you're wearing gloves. Yeah, you can do it. It's not going to be as easy. It's not going to be the same. I think that for gloves, maybe this is not the way to go for me. It is so much. I think this was patented by Spyderco. So much so that whenever other companies like Victorinox, they had to go with more of an egg-shaped hole so as to not incur problems with that, I believe it is. And it works. It works okay. It's just a little bit different. Then you have maybe one of the more typical one-hand opening systems, which is a stud. A stud on one side used to be that cold steel would put a screw on one side and you had to switch it. That was a pain in the ass. Now they wised up to it and they do it ambidextrally, which really for the money, it made no sense to have a screw and only have this on one side. So yeah, ambidextrous one-hand opening. This is maybe the more reliable way of opening a folding knife, right? You have a positive contact there or there or there or what. However you want to open this thing, right? If you have like a little bit of a bigger thumb, you can go with a knuckle there. If you have tiny little hands, maybe you go more with a tip because it's gonna be like, I don't know, like a shorter finger that you have thing there. I have like a kind of chimpanzee thumbs. So yeah, Maybe for me, the more comfortable way is going like that, right? Something like that. So going with a knuckle instead of the tip of the finger. But whatever the case may be, what you have, and you have people that go like putting tension and snapping it and just flicking it. The thing is, with this system, what you have is a nice amount of positive contacts on the opening of the blade through the entire process, right? You can go like that. You can go like whatever it is, you have a lot more control. And if you have any situation because you're very cold, because you're stressed, if your fine motor skills are compromised for whatever reason, or your hands are bloody, sweaty, or oily, well, this is a lot better contact and you don't have any kind of risk of slipping. You will control the blade a lot more when opening. And it is particularly good for larger blades like this one. I don't see a lot of disadvantages of this. This is maybe the system that I feel is the most reliable for most people, right? Just a simple stud going through the blade, you connect with that and you open it. Simple. Then there's other mechanisms, and maybe one of the systems that I favor the most lately, which is your flipper blade. Your flipper blade is, again, a shape in the blade. Instead of having a hole there, you have a flipper and you put a little bit of tension there and it flips open. Simple enough. And also, one of the positives that this has, it ends up working like sort of like a guard for your finger. So your hand is a lot less likely to move forward if you're stabbing into something. And so it's providing a little bit of hand protection with that thing there. But yeah, flippers, they do work. You can open it with, again, with a knuckle of your finger, with a tip, whatever it is, and you flick it a little bit. These are pretty cool. These have like a little bit more of a fidgety thing, so a sense of satisfaction in just playing around with a knife maybe. Some of them incorporate both. It has a stub and the flipper. I don't feel very comfortable opening it this way. In fact, I find it almost like impossible no matter how I push on that thing. So I'm not all that convinced. I think it works better so as to have a little bit more support there than as a single-handing opening mechanism. CRKT does the same thing with the M16 mod, a little flipper. Some of these are smaller than others. Usually you want a little bit of a larger one, but this is okay. And with this system, because of how you place your hand, and that just happened to me, you have a little bit of a chance of scrapping a little bit of the meaty part of your hand right here in your in the palm, because you do like this, right? And it can be the case. Sure, it depends on how you hold it, but if you have that kind of right, so it depends on where that's in, right? You see the hand. If you're doing this with your finger, just because of the way you need to place it, your hand on its own moves a little bit out of the way on its own, and it's basically impossible for you to catch yourself like that, as you can do with some of these, especially with the smaller flippers. On a larger flipper, not so much the case. This is the folder that I'm using. This is my EDC folder as of late, and with this, because of how big it is a little bit less likely to catch there on the side. But yeah, and this is a bigger one. This is a bigger flipper that it has. And because of that, you have a little bit more of a finger protection situation going on there. Now, advantage, it is fast, it is cool, it is fun to open, and once you get the hang of it and the parts smooth out a little bit and you have a very swift, friction-free system, it is super fast and it's quick and it's fun. Disadvantages, in the process of doing this, there is also a chance of something like that happening. Going halfway through. You can do like that and you finish opening it, right? A little flick of your hand. I just didn't go all the way. All right. I can even use this part so as to thumb open the rest of it. But there is that. There is a possibility you don't have the amount of constant control that you have with these things right there, right? Other than that, really, not much of a problem. All of these, as you see, they have their little pros and cons. Maybe the more reliable one would be the stud. I like the flipper too. Then you have some of the other more exotic systems, right? Like this one. This is the zero tolerance from Emerson model. And instead of having a stub, you have a disc. A disc that is screwed on the spine of the blade. And this works okay. It has a nice amount of surface, so you can open it nicely on one hand or the other, right? I don't feel as comfortable doing this disky thing here, more of a left hand. Basically works in the same way. Now, the Emerson design thing has this hook that holds onto the pocket as you bring it out, and it opens on its own. Sounds gimmicky, it actually does work. So this is a one-hand opening system that is not automatic, but kind of is, because it opens on its own as you pull it out of your pocket. There's no spring or button or tension. It's just catching on the fiber, catching on the cloth of your pocket, and with a very little bit of practice, it opens on its own. I mean, you don't even need to practice anything. When my wife is throwing everything in the laundry and I forget my folder, I remember that once she just pulled it out and she said, what is that thing? It opens on its own. Yes, it kind of does. It's like kind of one of those, the thing is about guns don't run around shooting people. Well, knives are not supposed to run around stabbing people on their own, except for this one, which is a little bit more of a life of its own that it has when you bring it out of the pocket. Nothing. It's a cool system. It's a little bit gimmicky. It does work. I do like it. I'm not EDCing this as much anymore, mostly because I almost lost this thing and I freaked out. I don't want to lose a zero tolerance, so I have a CRKT. These are cheap. If I lose this, it's not going to be the end of the world, and it opens very well. It is a large flipper that it has, and it opens wonderfully nice. Guys, this is basically what you have in terms of mechanisms. There's automatic and buttons and whatnot, but in what is available in most places, and some of these flipper things have an assisted opening, which is almost like an automatic, even though not quite so, because it is assisted, and legally speaking, that's a massive difference. But these are some of the mechanisms, the opening systems that you have that have been proven to be the more successful ones. Let me know what you think. Oh, I have an automatic and I use that thing all the time, out the front knife. I love it. Okay, let me know in the comments. Those are good too. I actually had one for a long time until I messed it up, but and not the kind of system that I really favor. I like these things that are a little bit more mechanically simple and not depending on things breaking or not. But yeah, that's going to be all for now. See you on our next video. Take care. Have a wonderful day.